It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-5222, your emails at randywangradio@gmail.com. Search for the KABC News Blitz wherever you get your podcasts and subscribe for free to the California Report at randywangradio.substack.com. And with that, let's get into today's California Report, my daily curated list of all the important California stories that you need to know about. You can subscribe at randywangradio.substack.com, and then it's up to you which stories you want to share with your friends, your family, your social circle. But I'm going to assume this one's going to get a lot of shares. The revelations just in the last 24 hours of the depositions that are being released when it comes to the lawsuit of fire victims against the city of Los Angeles and the state of California is pretty darn damning, especially the deposition of a firefighter that was on the scene that was at the Lockman fire the day after and was ordered to clean everything up and pull up the hoses, and he testifies that he still saw smoldering, he still felt really hot stuff, and he warned everyone that this fire was not out. And whether it be for inept management or a fight with the state parks department over jurisdiction, they just kind of left it, and we know what happened there. But you've seen these videos going around of these depositions, and they are wild. Every single day, more damning news comes out about the incompetence at the city level and the state level when it comes to this fire. And what we've seen since is a whole lot of covering up where a lot of these firefighters straight up say they're afraid of retaliation. They know that if they speak up, they're going to get in trouble, and then there goes your pension. So you got to get along to go along, unfortunately, but hopefully we have learned a lesson in that we've got to change policies. And if somebody, even if they're in management, if they're being incompetent for something like safety when it comes to a fire not being completely out, got to do something about that. Now, all eyes are still on LAUSD as the LAUSD board has been meeting for 2 days straight to try to figure out what to do with Alberto Carvalho, the superintendent who just hours ago was placed on administrative leave, paid administrative leave. He'll be still collecting $8,500 a week for the foreseeable future, but they had to do something. He still hasn't been arrested or charged with anything, so I guess you really can't take too many punitive actions, but he'd be a complete distraction to still go about his business as usual, especially because he doesn't seem to want to talk about what his defense is for anything that happened with the FBI raid. But the more we find out about this, the more it really does look like this has to do with a botched AI deal, where a few years ago, Alberto Carvalho announced that he had signed a contract with an AI developer to create Ed, an AI LAUSD chatbot that would teach kids algebra. Why we needed to spend millions of dollars on something that you could probably just ask Google for? Well, this is the same school district that decided that it would be really smart for all the kids to have iPads. But instead of, going to Apple and asking for a bunch of iPads at a great discount, they decided to contract out with some third party to make knockoff iPads. And instead of having open source free software, they decided to spend a whole bunch of money on software that didn't work. This is LAUSD par for the course. So it's not surprising that AI chatbot never actually materialized. Never did. And the company behind it charged with fraud. Somebody in bankruptcy court saying that they are owed a commission based on the sale of that contract to LAUSD. Could there be more to it? Could there be other accusations of misappropriations of funds? There very well could be. After all, it's LAUSD. And I had to put this story in here. I am obsessed with the bizarre story of the woman who's been putting multi-million-dollar liens on homes in Benedict Canyon. She was squatting in Beverly Hills. Her name is Rita Ortiz. She claims she is a business consultant, although she just got evicted for squatting. She has been putting liens on houses, which apparently you can just do for millions and millions of dollars. And if you're in the middle of a title transfer, that can really screw things up. That's how this whole story started. Well, Rita Ortiz decided to tell her side of the story to ABC7, and let's just say it's real special. So if you need a good laugh after all the serious news from this week, check that one out, because it's been a while since we had just true laughable insanity in the news. So check out Rita Ortiz's interview with ABC7. Now, CBS LA has an interesting piece, because we've been talking about charter reform in the city of Los Angeles going all the way back to 2022, when that secret meeting was recorded with Kevin De Leon and Gil Cedillo and Nuri Martinez.
Why are people with us?
And while charter reform sure does sound like something the city needs, and the city is a mess, and the way the city is run is a mess, just because it's a reform committee doesn't mean all the reforms are good. One of the things that apparently the Charter Reform Committee is looking at is weakening the role of the Comptroller's office, which I don't know how you could weaken it any further. It's not like anybody in the mayor's office or the city council actually pays attention to the audits coming from the Comptroller. This is true at the state level as well. Julie Watts has done a whole incredible investigative piece on how 3/4 of all state audits are followed up by no action by the legislature. But yeah, that's the next move. In the word of transparency, make it so the Comptroller is less powerful. And we're still trying to figure out what's going on in Moreno Valley with the mall. Well, apparently it was shut down because of several different violations to fire codes, including the owners of that mall not keeping up with simple things like sprinklers and stuff that's supposed to protect you from fire. They were storing hazardous chemicals in tight spaces, and they had like 9 major violations. They've corrected 4 of them, but I don't think they're opening up anytime soon until they correct all of them, because it is a fire hazard. And it's real unfortunate. We'd like to get this solved as quickly as possible, because that's a whole lot of workers that can't do anything. Now let's move on to the Bay Area, and I need Henry Lee for this. Where is my crime reporter, Henry Lee?
It's happened yet again.
It's not a crime story, but it's happened yet again. How many shutdowns of BART at the Transbay Tube have we talked about in just the last couple of weeks? Well, here was yet another one based on BART once again deferring maintenance to routine equipment, and this was communications equipment. But there's been so many shutdowns of service. While they have made great improvements in public safety on BART, and they installed all those fare gates, and they've increased police presence, safety is only one aspect. If public transit is not reliable, people will not ride it. And it's got to be really tough right now trying to sell the sales tax hike to better fund BART and Muni and VTA and Caltrain and AC Transit and the rest of them, when they're currently wasting a ton of money, and whatever they're spending the money on isn't keeping the system running properly. The people in charge have made so many blunders, including deciding years ago that they weren't going to dust inside the tunnels anymore. So dust builds up and it sparks a fire, and that shuts down the Transbay Tube. And it's been something like that over and over and over again. Meanwhile, at the same time, BART has voted on their doomsday plan. I know, it sounds like something at the end of Dr. Strangelove. But the doomsday plan is if the sales tax increase does not pass in the 5 Bay Area counties, what it means then is that they're going to close 15 stations and make the service even worse, which is what some say would lead to a doom loop where now even less people will use it, which means they'll be able to make even less money. But ultimately, if that tax goes through, BART needs a complete change in leadership, because that should be a world-class system. And the fact that it's become this unreliable is embarrassing. LA Metro is a mess, but it doesn't go anywhere even if it was safe. So it's not like that many people use it. BART can be very successful if people can trust it. And we've really got Strike-a-Palooza 2026 fever going on. There have been so many strikes and potential strikes that we have covered in just the last few weeks. Well, here's an interesting one. The court clerks in San Francisco, they're on strike right now. They're a part of the SEIU, and that is going to cause an even bigger backlog in the courts. But gosh, it seems like everybody is in strike mode right now. And in San Jose, the police chief is bucking to pressure from all these activist groups that don't like the flock cameras because we don't like mass surveillance except for, the phone that's in our pocket that's hearing everything that we're saying. And we're willfully posting our content every single day on Facebook and TikTok and Instagram. But sure, let's stop using the very effective license plate reading cameras. Nonsense. Now, we've got to get to this story because it has been a wild 72 hours in the state of California, all having to do with the news surrounding a human monster. David Allen Funston, the convicted serial child rapist, the man who kidnapped children under 8 years old, several of them did unspeakable things. He was put away in the late 90s. And was sentenced to 3 consecutive life terms plus 20 years on top of that. And of course, as you now know, the parole board, thanks to a law that Gavin Newsom signed to lower the age for elder parole to 50 and 20 years served, decided that this guy should get out. This guy should be free. But here's a really interesting thing that happened. Because this is like a red alert story. There are so many different there are so many different people, whether it's the Sacramento sheriff speaking out, the former Sacramento DA who put this guy away speaking out. Everyone's like, this is no longer just theoretical. This is a true danger to society if this monster is released onto our streets. Well, in Placer County, they started looking at their files, and a funny thing happened. See, when this monster was getting put away, there were so many different cases against him. And in fact, Placer County had their own case against him. They decided they didn't need to file because he was getting put away for life on all the Sacramento charges. Well, when Placer County's DA found out that David Allen Funston was getting out, what did he do? He looked up the statute of limitations, tried to see if there was a way to refile a case where he did the same thing to a kid in Placer County in the late 90s. And what do you know? Minutes within David Allen Funston getting released in Chino, he was placed back into police custody on a no bail warrant because he is now getting charged with those crimes. So at least for now, it doesn't look like this guy's getting out any time soon. That being said, there are a lot of members of the legislature that are asking on Gavin Newsom to fire his parole board. These are people he specifically appoints. And when you see some of the details that are coming out of what was talked about in that parole hearing, things that I can't even talk about on the radio, but if you follow Bill Mallusion on Twitter, you can read it. Read it to your own discretion. It is wild. And the fact that they said, yes, this man is deemed safe, it is insanity. Now, you might be wondering why Gavin didn't just reverse this. Well, according to state law, a governor can only veto a parole board for a murder case. This wasn't murder. This was, you could argue, as bad, but he had no power there. That being said, he appoints this parole board, and he should be held responsible for not only the people that he appointed to that parole board, but for signing this law to begin with. And don't let this one go. Just because this guy's not getting out doesn't mean this story goes away, because this is something Newsom needs to answer for when he's done with his little book tour. He needs to be asked over and over and over again why he facilitated what happened this week. and the nonsense that we've gotten into in the name of criminal justice reform. Stick with us as we continue the California Report. A lot more to come. If you want to subscribe and get all of these stories, all the links to all the YouTube channels of all our local news stories, randywangradio.substack.com, and you can share these on your feed. You can share them with your friends, your family, and we can get our share of the attention economy focused on California issues, because there's plenty of people yammering about everything that happens in D.C., but what happens here is important, and that's why we talk about it. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. Let's get back to the California Report at randywangradio.substack.com. We've talked about potential teacher strikes in the Bay Area. We've talked about potential teacher strikes in Southern California. Well, now in Sacramento, 60,000 students could also be feeling the possibility of teacher strikes. It is strike-a-palooza, everybody striking. And when it comes to the schools, I just don't know what we do here. When I understand that it's incredibly expensive to live here, and I know how hard teachers work, but what do you do when you have declining enrollment? If you authorize the raises, it means you're going to have layoffs, and that is going to lead to larger class sizes. I guess that's the way we're going to go, though. And there was an oversight hearing in the California Senate to look at how we're spending our homeless money. You know, like, wouldn't it have been great if we actually overrode Gavin's veto of the auditing of the homeless money? Well, in the oversight hearing, officials were asked where the money's going, and they said, we don't know yet. We don't actually know what the outcomes are. We'd have no idea. And there's your oversight hearing for today. In San Diego, once again, they are bucking to the pressure. San Diego is once again not getting rid of it entirely, but scaling back the paid parking at Balboa Park. Keep the pressure on. This was such a huge policy failure, and everyone behind it, including members of the city council like Sean Elo Rivera, Todd Gloria, the mayor, they should never win another election based on the betrayal of their constituents. And it's not like it helped solve the budget deficit. In fact, at the end of all this, they might end up losing money on paid parking at Balboa Park. Just complete buffoonery going on down there. And yet another school looking at potential layoffs with another budget deficit, San Marcos Unified, looking at layoff notices. Again, this is happening up and down the state, and it's a real problem. Now, when it comes to the governor's race, a new poll from the PPIC has shown that Steve Hilton's in the lead this time. And you know who has crept back up to second place?
You can smell it right here.
Katie Porter. And what do you know? ABC 10's interview of the day with a gubernatorial candidate just happened to be Katie Porter. So if you want to find out what her campaign is about,
sorry for the noise, I'm cutting carrots.
you can do so by checking out her interview on ABC 10. And I've told you for a while, I'm a huge fan of Julie Watts on CBS Sacramento. In fact, she was the one that did that interview with Katie Porter that didn't go so well.
Well, to those voters, okay, so you...
I don't want to keep doing this. I'm going to call it. Okay. Thank you.
You're not going to do the interview with us?
Nope, not like this. I'm not. Not with 7 follow-ups to every single question you ask.
Well, she has been continuing her series of asking questions to all the gubernatorial candidates, and she sat down with the latest entry, San Jose Mayor Matt Mahan. And I suggest if you're interested in all in what's going on with Matt Mahan, a lot of people don't know who he is, check out that interview. You might like what you see. You might not. By the way, it looks like Matt Mahan and Rick Caruso are going to be doing a big joint interview with Alex Michelson tonight on the... I was about to say the issue is, that's the old show. The story is on CNN. And finally, let's go to the California crime blotter, where in Sonoma County, more than 800 fighting roosters were confiscated in a months-long investigation that led to a bust of a massive cockfighting ring. I can't believe this is a thing. And what's so awful is you can't, untrain that behavior. When you raise roosters to kill and you attach slashers to their beaks, there's no rehabbing that. They had to kill all 800 of them. So hopefully somebody got some food there. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-5222. Your emails at randywangradio@gmail.com. Search for the KABC News Blitz wherever you get your podcasts and subscribe to my curated list of all the important stories every day going on in California, the California Report. You can get it for free at randywangradio.substack.com. Our next guest is running for mayor of Los Angeles. You can go to his website and check out his campaign at lamayor2026.org. Assad Alnajar, welcome back to the News Blitz.
Good evening, everybody, and it's a pleasure to be back. I miss you guys.
Why don't you go ahead and, in case anyone hasn't heard of you before, reintroduce yourself to the audience. Tell us who you are and why you would want to run for mayor.
Yes, I'm Assad Alnajar, the senior manager at the Public Works in the city of Los Angeles, and I've been with the city of LA for 36 years. And I announced my candidacy about 1 year ago, marks this year, to challenge Karen Bass. And the reason I'm running, because I build the city and I make it in an almost perfect system. However, because of the lack of maintenance and accountability, we see the chaos and the disaster in the city. So I figured as an engineer, I need to come back, re-engineer it, and fix it, because no more career politicians and no more hollow slogans. Just let me go in and fix it. I'll fix it for you in a day.
Now, one of the problems that seems to persist in Los Angeles is specifically copper wire theft and the darkening of street lights all across the city, not just in neighborhoods, but the 6th Street Bridge. And we keep spending money to fix the lights, to harden the infrastructure, but it just keeps happening over and over and over again. It takes about 270 days to replace one street light. How does a Mayor Alnajar fix that problem?
All right. This is a question right to my heart. So 20 years ago, 2 decades ago, I was in charge of the community service division managers, and I handled all whatever outages happens in the city. Those days, we had wire theft still. However, we had a better council with a better strategy on the budget, with a better mayor those days. And of course, we had a better LAPD enforcement. We had a lot of better things, and I need to bring all those back. Today, all the council offices, all 15 council offices, Mayor Bass, cut my budget. I lost all my street lighting engineers, all street division managers. I lost my electricians. So in the end, and then LAPD cannot enforce anything on the street. As a result, the wire is stolen. I don't have resources to fix the streets back because the 15 council members voted on the budget to take everybody out, and Mayor Bass blessed it. And this is where we are. As a mayor, first day, I bring all back my labor. And this is not only for the street lighting, for all the sanitation, all the other issues. You have politicians put the budget together in a way they do not understand operations. If you have not worked in the ditches, then you will not be able to run and lead the city out of the misery it's in.
Now, speaking of the budget of the city of Los Angeles is bigger than it ever has been. It's much bigger than it was just about 5 years ago. But that being said, every department is losing funding. Every department says that they're broke. We're spending more on LAPD than we ever have, but that's because we have fewer officers than we've had in 30 years. We have to pay them all in overtime. Now, I know you want to do a big audit if you become mayor, but just on what you can see right now, where do you think the city of LA is wasting the most money?
So I'll stick to the budget that Karen Bass and the 15 council members adopted, which shows we're wasting $100 million in the mayor's office in, I'm going to say it, incompetent personnel. Mayor's office can run depending on the people in the public works. I don't need to hire a full staff and spend $100 million a year in taxpayers' money on a mayor's office. A city attorney, $225 million a year, in which they guarantee we lose $600 million in liability. So already you are what? In 700 million. Then you add to it HR. HR, we spend over 300 million and it's not even possible to do their job. If I need to hire an engineer today, it's a cycle minimum of 18 months. And the audacity of it, today they are hiring directors for 200,000 K in the HR department, where I lost all my engineers that are 70, 80,000 K. The state of the whole balance right now, it does not exist. Mayor Bass and the 15 council members, and I keep repeating, this is an action which the mayor is guilty, the 15 council members are guilty of all the budget mess. We need someone to come in and apply where the money should be spent. Like before even getting to the homeless. The homeless, we have Committee A to report to Committee B, to commit to Committee C, and then all three committees wasting all our money and get no result. Same thing happens in every single thing. I spend the past 3 years, and this is one of the reasons I'm even running for mayor, the past 3 years trying to educate the mayor's office staff on things. And if I have talked to the wall would have more action than all her 9 deputies.
I'm not surprised at all what you say, and you have inside knowledge of this, that the reason that we're spending so much money, yet nothing is getting done in every department that matters is underfunded and understaffed is because we're funding a bloated bureaucracy of middle managers that don't actually do anything. So yeah, we'd have plenty of money to fund the fire department without a sales tax increase, fund the police department, and fund the electricians and street services and pave a road every now and then if we weren't paying for all of these middle managers that don't do anything.
Yeah, I know. And even look, you're speaking of the fixing and all that. It's funny. I mean, in my Instagrams, I go and say, yes, I've been working and hard laboring in the whole city, and I will continue using the shovel. And what does Bass do? She pulls the shovel and go to Chinatown to do that asphalt stunt. Look, this is a time where the Angelinos need to realize when you're going to vote June 2nd, you need a leader that's going to do it, not someone started running just because Caruso is not in the race. We had a flood of people just showed up and filed just because Caruso is not running. That's not a reason for running to be a mayor. You must be a leader. You must have the passion to go in and fix the city. And even the people speak of, what his name, Adam Miller. Adam Miller is not going to do crap. Look at the Instagram yesterday. He wants AI to run the city. It's like, hello, AI cannot replace a professional engineer. AI will help me as a professional engineer to bring me all the resources, the books in one place, but then I would have, as a person, as a professional engineer, to make the final determination. The city needs to readjust the resources. We are a very rich city. We have so much money beyond anybody's imagination, but we waste it in all these little alleys, backdoor dealings, and I don't even want to use the word corruption because the attorneys tell me just use incompetence, don't use corruption.
You can use incompetence, but we know what you're saying. Assad Alnajar is running for mayor. He's been a civil structure engineer with 36 years of experience in L.A. Now, we're about to invite the entire world for a whole bunch of huge events, including the World Cup this year, the Super Bowl next year, the Olympics the year after that. But anybody that lives here or even drives through this city knows that the city of Los Angeles is filthy. Whether it's the illegal dumping or the graffiti that is plaguing our streets, what does a Mayor Alnajar do to literally clean up the city?
Well, I'm starting that next week, literally, with the cleaning, recycling operations in downtown, in which we are approaching all the residents and all the businesses for an attempt that we do our part as Angelenos to clean up the city. I'll give you some example we did in a coordination with these recycling companies. In Christmas, we encourage the people to bring a trash load of the trunk of their car, and in return, they get a fresh Christmas tree. And we got thousands and thousands of trash off the street. Yes, we gave the gentleman there gave 1,500 trees, but at the day, it's ended. Same thing, you give the businesses incentives. If you take care of the front of your business, then you get some bonuses, some incentives. It's each store, if each resident did that, it's not like the Shine LA. I mean, the Shine LA you see today is not something new. This is something we started in the 25 years ago in the neighborhood councils, in which each one of the 99 neighborhood councils do it. Now Mayor Bass for re-election comes and say, oh, Shine LA. What I'm going to do is going to get the city ready. It's going to be a challenge because I'll be sworn in sometime in December. So that leaves me 14 months to get the city ready, in which we have not moved an inch in the past 3 years. The city as stands today, we're not ready to host the LA 28. And I stress on that. We are not ready. We need change. Bass has to go. And none of the candidates, with due respect to them, can handle the job. They need to realize LA is big. LA is huge. If you have not worked the ditches, you cannot just say, oh, I'm going to bigger staff and do it. If you do not know how to lead, you'll be a lousy manager. That's all I have to say.
Assad Alnajar is running for mayor. His website is lamayor2026.org. All right, Assad, I'm going to give you 60 seconds on the clock. Make your pitch. Why should voters support you this June?
All voters need someone who has been working. You don't go to a restaurant where they tell you, oh, the chef just started cooking today. Same thing with the city. You need an engineer who has actually built the city, maintained the city, and now he will continue maintaining it. Leadership is a skill that brings up the city. As Angelenos, don't listen to all the whatever the slogans you're hearing from my competitors. The end of the day, I can do it. Not only I can do it, I can do it efficiently more than anybody. I know City Hall inside out, and together we will re-engineer a stronger Los Angeles. Thank you.
Assad Alnajar running for mayor. His website, if you want to learn more about him, is lamayor2026.org. That's lamayor2026.org. Assad Alnajar, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you, and have a great weekend.
Thanks. We'll talk soon. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It is going to be a practically summer weekend to finish off February here in 2025 in Los Angeles. The Valley is going to be in the high 80s tomorrow. Oh, boy. And then we get back down and it's going to be, kind of mild in March. But it has been pretty darn warm. I came to work in T-shirts and shorts today. Let's find out what's going on this weekend. Mondo always puts together a list of some of the fun events that are happening in Southern California. And let's start off with Gorillaz, House of Kong, Los Angeles. This tells the story of Gorillaz, the animated band created by Blur's Damon Albarn and British artist Jamie Hewlett. And it involves a bit of real-world history and a bunch of cartoon mythology. House of Kong manages to blend both of those to a truly transportative walkthrough that mixes gallery shows with cartoons come-to-life experience. Mondo checked it out and was blown away in the Gorillaz world in their trailer and in their practice studio. This is at Rolling Greens in downtown LA, and it runs through March 19th, and Gorillaz has a new album called The Mountain, and out today. Beethoven and Ortiz is going to be at the Walt Disney Concert Hall February 26th through March 1st. Gustavo Dudamel connects the LA Philharmonic when they perform Beethoven Symphony No. 7 all weekend long at the Walt Disney Concert Hall. You know, I've never been to that venue. I need to do something about that. I almost bit the bullet on going to, they had a screening of Home Alone there with a live orchestral score. And I was going to do it because I have this credit on my Chase card where you get $150 twice a year for StubHub. So I'm like, well, I should use that because it's like free tickets. But even for that, seeing a Home Alone screening, the tickets on StubHub were well over $100 each. So it's not like I could go for free. But, you know, I'm still willing to try. I got to use my other one. I'm going to just wait until there's something I kind of want to see that I couldn't get tickets to right away. But if I see cheap tickets, I'm going to use it. But boy, StubHub is expensive. Going out and buying tickets to things is expensive, except for Largo. Largo is always affordable. You got to really know what you're doing to maneuver in there. But I love going to see shows at Largo. And, I'm overdue. I haven't seen an improvised Shakespeare in quite some time. I haven't seen a Ben Schwartz and Friends, although he's blown up to the point where now he's doing like international tours. But he still comes back there every once in a while. Ooh, improvised Shakespeare, Friday, April 10th and Saturday, April 11th. That could be fun. And look at this. Puppet Up at the Ricardo Montalban Theater. I've been to that theater. I went to see Dungeons and Dragons there. That was a lot of fun. The 20-sided tavern. But Brian Henson brings Puppet Up, an uncensored comedy show featuring 80 miscreant puppets to the Ricardo Montalban Theater. That's Saturday, February 28th. And it concludes with a 5 p.m. show on Sunday, March 1st. So if you like foul-mouthed puppets, and really, who doesn't? Well, check that out. There you go, at the Ricardo Montalban Theater. That is a really cool theater. And yes, it has a lot of pictures of Ricardo Montalban, including him in Star Trek II as Khan. As for what I'm going to do this weekend, probably a whole lot of nothing. You know what I'm overdue and I need to do, but we've been saying forever it's too cold to do it, and now it's too hot to do it. I got to clean up my garage. We have half the garage reserved for a car, my wife's car. I can't park my car in the garage because that's where we put things to go away. But we've put so many things to pretend that they disappeared that now it's time to actually figure out what we've put in the garage and what we actually need to, I don't know, take to the dump or the dumpster at work. That works as well. Thank you all so much for being a part of this show and listening every day. Appreciate you sharing this information with your friends. Subscribe to that California report. I have a lot of fun doing it. RandyWangRadio.substack.com. Have a great weekend, everyone. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC.